of the week. A top 10 matchup in our favorite place. We've been here like 7 million times. Columbus, Ohio. Not this season, though. Number 7 Penn State is in town to take on the 3rd-ranked Buckeyes. You know, there's a lot of huge CFP implications in this one. To say the very least, the loser not eliminated from contention, but it's going to be a tough road ahead if they do take the L. So we'll get you ready for that matchup and all the other matchups happening in Week 8. Welcome to Countdown to College GameDay, presented by Dr. Pepper. It's a little chilly here. That means it's officially college football season. Christine Williamson, Lyles Jr., and Harry Douglas. I said we've been here a million times because it feels like in past seasons we're here so much. This is our first time here this season. How are we feeling out here today?
I'm feeling good. Yeah. Like, this is a big matchup. Penn State, Ohio State. Really looking forward to this game. I think they're evenly matched this year. Yeah. So I think it's going to be one for the books, one for the ages to be able to remember.
It should be a really good one. You guys are going to that game. I won't be here for that game, but I'll talk about that in just a second. We start every single show with something that we call 3 big things. They're the things that we're either looking forward to on this college football Saturday or something maybe that happened this week. Lyles, you start us off.
For me, this is all about how USC responds. That was a terrible, terrible loss last week that they had. And honestly, it felt like they had it coming. It just felt a little bit worse because it came against a Notre Dame team that really wasn't playing their best football by any means, and they hadn't been for a few weeks at that point. The thing that had been saving USC all season was their offense, and then obviously Caleb Williams goes out there and throws 3 picks. So this week, you have to get right, and it's not going to be easy, even though you are going against the Utah team that still does not have Cam Rising. What are we now, 8 weeks into the season somehow? So that defense is going to make it extremely tough for them to rebound, but hey, this is what Heisman winners do. They rebound in these situations. No better time to do it than today for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it's been a really good season in the Pac-12 for sure. HT, what do you got?
For me, I love that you use the word respond, because for Oregon, that's the same word I'm going to use. How are they going to respond today versus Washington State after a close loss last week to Washington? Came down to a field goal to send it into overtime. The kicker missed it. Dan Lanning, their head coach, didn't have his best defensive game plan going against the skill position players for Washington as well. But when you look at Washington State, what team is going to show up for them? Because the first 4 weeks, Cameron Ward was phenomenal for their team. The last 2 weeks, teams have been able to shut him down. They're coming off a blowout loss to Arizona. How are those two teams both going to respond today, both in the Pac-12 as well? Yeah.
You know, Pac-12's been very fun, too, because obviously, as we know, it's going to be obliterated in exactly 1 season. So it's been fun to talk about them, and I'm excited that 2 of our 3 big things is Pac-12. Let's move over to the ACC, shall we? Because this week,
actually, I've got something for you.
What do you want to call it? What do you want to call it?
Well, I mean, for us, behind the scenes, Dean week, we call it pre-Dean. But look, we got you this jersey.
You know, thank you. That's the wrong side. That's the wrong side. This is the right side.
There's no wrong side of that jersey now.
The other side is the important part.
But okay, you got to have the ball girl on there.
I'm sorry.
Clem, Miami. Those 2 teams match up
today.
We
need to work on the names.
Nobody cares about this game. I feel like it works. The N in Clemson. Nobody really cares about this game except for me. Both teams are 4-2 this season.
You're right.
As long as you know. As long as you know.
The ACC network is going to be there, so they care about it as well. Both teams, as I mentioned, are 4-2 this season. Neither team has a win in the ACC. So whoever wins this matchup gets my fandom for the remainder of the season. But here's the thing that's really exciting about this matchup, and you guys might not realize this, leave it alone, is the fact that Miami and Clemson don't play that often. They played last season in Clemson. It was very bad for Miami. However, they've only matched up 7 other times in the history of this matchup. So this is going to be number 14. Clemson has 1 more win than Miami. They're 7-6. So it's going to be a really good game.
Who do you think's going to win today?
Going down to Miami, honestly.
Are you going to put it on?
I don't know. No, I'm not putting this on. I'll put this on later.
You can't get this made and not put it on.
I'm putting this on. I'm wearing this at the game.
Okay.
I'm going to the game. Flying to Miami right after this. Very excited about this matchup. But as I mentioned, nobody cares about this matchup like I do. So I'm very excited. It's great to be a Miami Hurricane, and it's also great to be a Clemson Tiger. We'll see who wins. I'm not sure. I want Miami to win the game because it's like I mentioned, it's 7-6 Clemson. It'll even the series.
So you're willing to pick against one of your kids?
Listen, I said whoever wins the matchup gets their first one in the ACC, and that is who I cheer for.
I'm just asking questions, you know?
Okay, so since nobody cares about that matchup, let's talk about some matchups that people do care about that we're looking forward to. This college football Saturday Saturday, starting with Tennessee, Alabama. I was like, where are we starting? Top 20 matchup. The Vols won this game last season when Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt combined for 5 touchdowns, and Tennessee won on a walk-off field goal. No Hooker or Hyatt, of course, this season for the Vols, and they haven't won back-to-back games since against the Tide since 2004. That's a minute. So, HD, is there a weakness Tennessee can exploit against this Alabama team?
I think the only one right now for Alabama is their offensive line. You have to be able to attack those guys. They've allowed 31 sacks this season. Jalen Milroe has received 26 of those sacks. That's tied for 4th in college football. And to put things into context, he is a guy that's a mobile quarterback. So for him to be sacked 26 times, and also Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, he's been sacked 34. So that also gives you another range of how bad that offensive line has been. So when you look at Tennessee, and there's 2 guys, right? You have James Pierce Jr. and also have Tyler Barron. Between those 2 guys, they have 11 sacks for Tennessee. Tennessee right now, they're 6th in the country in sacks with 24. You have to get pressure and take advantage of that offensive line of Alabama if you want to have a chance today if you're Tennessee.
Yep.
All right, Lyles, speaking of offense, Alabama has Tennessee has the top-ranked rush offense in the SEC, the 6th ranked in all of college football. How will this fare out against Alabama?
You know, it sounds nice until you realize that rushing defense by Alabama, for as shaky as everybody has felt the Crimson Tide have been this season, which is kind of a joke.
Yeah.
That rush defense is no joke. So it's really not even something that they could use to their advantage. You see that Alabama allows just over 3 yards per carry this season, 2nd fewest in the SEC. This game is going to be vastly different from what we saw last season in Neyland Stadium. 52-49, both quarterbacks airing it out of 1 trillion yards. This is going to be a ground game for both teams and built on defense as well. So I don't know necessarily that's something Tennessee could take advantage of, but if they're going to rely on the run and their defense, I think they fare better than if they were relying on Joe Milton in that rocket arm, because even though he does have that rocket arm, he could throw one to Columbus today. You know what I mean? And that's not good for business. So it's going to be a different game than last year, for sure.
Gosh, that was a really good game last year, a classic. Let's hopefully see if that one will be a classic today. We'll see. All right, let's go over to the ACC, because this is a game that people are looking forward to in the Atlantic Coast Conference. It's a top 20 matchup. Duke, by the way, hasn't beaten Florida State ever. They're 0-21 against Florida State, and the only ACC team without a win over FSU. But Duke beat Clemson, took Notre Dame to the wire, and has their highest ranking since 1994. So what kind of challenge is ahead for the Blue Devils tonight, Ishi?
Well, Keon Coleman, that young man is a transfer from Michigan State, had a great game 1 versus LSU, but he's been phenomenal all season. And I don't think anyone in college football has risen their draft stock more so than Keon Coleman. We've seen him with the one-hand catch last week, also the long touchdown, did it on the punt return as well. So he's an all-around athlete, and he's more athletic than a lot of people give him credit for. So look forward to him, not only today versus Duke, but in the 2024 NFL draft, probably being the 2nd wide receiver taking in that draft.
Yeah, I mean, look, you talk about that one-handed catch. Hey, that boy bad, is he not?
Oh, he was on that boy bad on Get Up this week.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm
he was number 2 this week, baby.
So, but look, if Duke is going to have a shot in this game, they absolutely have to have Riley Leonard. Like, this was already going to be a tough matchup for them. Obviously, they run the ball really well. The one thing that has been key to Duke's success this season is they make good quarterbacks worse than what they are. I think it was Sam Hartman and your boy, Cade Klubnik, combined 58 completion percentage in those 2 games. Then obviously they've done a really good job of taking advantage of turnovers. It's going to have to be that against Florida State. But again, if they're going to have any shot, and that's just a starting point, he's got to play today.
All right, let's go over to the Pac-12. We got Utah taking on USC. You were talking about this matchup earlier, Lyles. Surprising stat. USC has lost 10 of their last 12 games to AP-ranked teams, which is crazy to think about. They also have 3 losses in a row to Utah. Still no Cam Rising for the Utes, which we were talking about earlier, Lyles. Very weird. Does Utah have enough on offense to beat USC?
Oh, boy. I mean, probably not. But so here's the thing, though, because if you're Utah, I believe it was when they played UCLA, 14 was enough, right? Because they held them to 7. When they played Oregon State, they held them to 21. They only scored 7 points. So, like, it's not like they ever put out a defensive output that is not good enough. But, oh, my goodness gracious, man, if you are Kyle Whittingham, you have got to be pulling your hair out, because this is the best defense that you have ever had. And I actually had somebody from Utah telling me that at the beginning of the year. They're like, if Cam can just play, like, this could be the year that we actually break through. And he hasn't been available. And this offense is averaging 17 points per game, less than they were last year, man. and you got one of the best defenses in college football. So is it going to be enough today? I mean, there's a chance because that USC defense is bad.
Yeah, it's super bad.
So technically, yeah, they could. For as bad as Utah's offense is, they might have enough today.
All right, let's talk about USC's offense. Caleb Williams. I'm calling him our Caleb Williams because he was our Heisman winner last year. And we talked about him a lot last season, but he had 3 picks last game. What have you made of his decision making?
Well, I think when you look at the game versus Notre Dame, I think all of his interceptions came off of pressure that the defensive line was bringing. It wasn't necessarily blitzes. It was just that defensive line of Notre Dame was so much physical than the offensive line of USC. And then Caleb Williams, right, doing too much at times. Instead of just eating the ball, throwing it into the dirt, or trying to throw it out of bounds and live to play another down, he's trying to improvise and make these plays. But that's expected because he's Caleb Williams for a reason. There's a reason why this guy is going to be the #1 draft pick in the 2024 NFL draft, right? But I just think he has to settle down a little bit and understand that you don't have to be Superman on every play.
Yeah.
Take what the defense gives you. If it's not there, just throw it away, live to play another down.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. HC just knocked my iPad down.
Miami already fumbled it.
No, I just want to say that HC is such a professional because he didn't even blink. He was like, knocked it down. It's on the ground, whatever.
Ball security, Christine. Come on.
You got to tuck that thing away.
Sorry, my bad. I got it. Anyways, our guy Joey G went to go talk to some Ohio State fans yesterday. Take a listen.
If for whatever reason you get into a bar fight, would you rather have the Watt brothers or the Bosa brothers on your side?
Bosa brothers.
Why?
Because I get my ass whooped.
Bosa brothers.
Watt brothers, 100%. Bosas they're in the mafia.
Would you rather go on a date with a Penn State fan or trust Kyle McCord knocking a cup off your head from 20 yards away?
McCord, 100%.
McCord.
I trust McCord with my life.
How would a date with a Penn State fan go?
I wouldn't go on one.
If you had to.
I'd ghost.
Oh, man. Penn State fans?
Start, bench, cut. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Starting Marv.
Bench, Chris Olave.
Bench Garrett Wilson.
That's just not religious right there, man.
Does Jim Harbaugh wet his toothbrush before or after applying toothpaste?
I think he's an after guy.
Before. So that's the wrong way to do it.
Oh, he does it before. He's weird.
How do you do it? I have to think about that.
After.
He doesn't even wet it at all. He just goes bone dry.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Does Jim Harbaugh put butter or cream cheese on his bagel?
Oh, he's a butter guy for sure.
Oh, he butters them. The cream cheese is the way to go. He doesn't do anything normal.
He probably puts like some weird avocado mash.
He probably does both.
Same time.
Same time.
You're a cream cheese guy though, right?
Oh, no, I'm neither.
You know that?
No, I don't need any of that. None of that. None of that, buddy.
Are you cheesy?
I am cheesy.
How cheesy?
Super cheesy.
How much do you love Cheez-Its?
I love cheesy.
How much?
A lot.
How much?
A lot.
How much again?
A lot.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. It is now time to honor the fan, filling the cheeses with the cheesiest chain, reserved for college football, most passionate fans, the ones who show up on Saturdays feeling the cheesiest. I am here with Jamie. Jamie, you are the cheesiest fan today. Where are you from?
We're from Denver, Colorado.
You came all the way here to the game.
All the way here.
Okay, so tell me, what's your experience being an Ohio State Buckeyes fan?
Oh, I love the Buckeyes. We're diehard Buckeyes. My husband went to
And this is your husband. You're here with you get to share this moment with your wife.
Absolutely. I'm
How
just here to
phenomenal
hold
is
the
that?
sign for her.
You're just here to hold a sign?
I'm making signs.
Yeah.
Okay, so give me a score prediction. What is your prediction of the score today?
I'm going to go with 28-21 Buckeyes.
28-21 Buckeyes. So, Jamie, you won a replica chain just like mine. It's a little smaller, but it's still blinged out. So thank you for being the cheesiest fan.
Thank you for making me the cheesiest fan.
You're welcome. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks so much.
I'm the cheesiest coach.
Cord looks to throw. He heaves this one deep down the middle of the field. Marvin Harrison tracks and he's got it. And Harrison's going to take it to the house.
This is my 6th year playing with Marvin, going back to high school days. Obviously, he's just unreal.
He runs great routes, very fluid in what he does.
Even when they have put a lot of attention to him, he's made plays, and we're going to need him to.
You can make the argument maybe the best group of skilled players in the country.
Another drop back. Oh, here's pressure. It's a pick 6 touchdown.
Penn State's defense is as good as it's been
been in James Franklin's tenure.
I think everybody really truly understands who and what we want to be.
We're going to be violent, fast, physical, up front and in the back end.
This is a new challenge for us, certainly a great defense.
There's not a spot where they're lacking.
We've really come together and we're playing as one. This is one of the games you need to win.
There's a big game today in Columbus, Ohio, and for Ohio State and their offense, I think it's imperative that they get the ball to their best player, Marvin Harrison Jr., early and often, quite like they did last week versus Purdue. Let's check out the film. So here on this first play, this is the third play of the game, you have a 3rd and 10 situation for Ohio State. Now, Purdue decides to play man coverage. Marvin Harrison Jr. is lined up in the slot. Watch him attack the leverage on this 10 to 12-yard out route to give the illusion that he's going across the field. Does a great job stemming in, giving the illusion, puts his foot in the ground, no wasted movement, gets out of the cut, clean and swiftly. First down. Let's take another look at it closely. I want y'all to watch how he attacks the leverage. No wasted movement, out route. It's like taking candy from a baby. Now the next play, you're going to have man coverage again. He's going to be at the top of the screen. And now he's going to have a 6-yard out and up. And he's going to get out of this very quickly, but you have to sell this route with your head and eyes. Great job right here selling it with his head and his eyes. That allows the DB to bite on it. But here's what I love the most about Marvin Harrison Jr., the contested catch, a big body wide receiver, so a DB being on him doesn't matter. Last but not least, we're going to get to the red zone. This is going to be cover 0. Purdue is going to bring an all-out blitz. Watch Kyle McCord here. He's going to send this tight end out in motion to see what the coverage is. Now you know you got man coverage, cover 0. Everyone is blitzing, so the quarterback has to get the ball out quick. And this wide receiver cannot waste any time getting to this corner out. Marvin Harrison Jr. does a great job again of stemming inside while the DB's feet is screwed into the ground. And last but not least, finishing up with a touchdown. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyle McCord, those guys have a connection. Dates all the way back to high school. The quarterback on the other side for Penn State, Drew Allar, he has a big game today as well.
Allar steps up, looks, delivers downfield for Lambert Smith. Touchdown, Penn State. Welcome to the Drew Allar era.
He lives the position.
He's silent but deadly, kind of like a quiet killer.
They're a big physical team, and I think they pride themselves on trying to bully people.
I feel like our identity can be anything. We can run the ball, we can pass the ball.
When you're going up against a team like this, you know, it just takes everybody on board, playing relentless.
And a sack. Jack Sawyer rips him down.
We have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. We can really rush the passer. The linebackers are very experienced.
You want to be known to be the toughest defense in America. As a defense, you want to play disruptive, arrive to the ball with bad attention.
It's a good test for us this weekend, but no, we're ready.
When you talk about this game, it's been a battle in the trenches, it's been a battle on the perimeter, and it'll continue to be that way on Saturday.
Time now for the Fansville Advantage, presented by Dr. Pepper. We're going to look ahead to an ACC matchup. Next week, it's Duke versus Louisville. There's a guy here that knows a lot about Louisville. His name is Harry Douglas. He played plenty of games. So what kind of home field advantage does Louisville have against the Duke Blue Devils?
Well, Christine, I'm going to say this. The first advantage is you pronouncing it the correct way.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Louisville. It's not Louisville or Louisville. Ladies and gentlemen, go to English class, okay, and learn how to pronounce Louisville. It's Louisville. So great job, Christine. High five.
They would teach that at Miami, do they?
Exactly.
They do, actually. Thank you.
This is a place, man, that's close to my heart. And I was there when they beat Notre Dame, and it was rocking. It was a sold-out crowd. They filled out that stadium since I've been there. You know, closed the end zone off. So a game against Duke in that magnitude, it's going to be jumping like some jacks. It's going to be rocking. I can't wait. I might find my way to that game because it is my alma mater. So it's a major advantage for Louisville to be able to play this game at home versus such a great opponent in Duke. And I'm looking forward to that crowd being an advantage to Louisville as well.
Lyles, HG talked about how good both of these teams have been.
Yes.
What has impressed you the most, and which team has impressed you more this season?
So I'm gonna go with my brother's score. I'm gonna go with Louisville. But so check me out, all right? So when we were there against NC State and Peyton Willis, hey man, he was throwing everything he could at Jack Plummer, and that Louisville defense stood in and kept them in the football game. When you have a defense that can do that for you, you're in business, and I think that they'll be able to do that in this game.
A lot at stake in that matchup, but of course that's next week. There's a lot at stake today right here in Columbus, Ohio.
the magnitude of the game, two undefeated teams, top 10 matchup. I mean, you can't draw it up any better than that.
We come to Penn State to play in big games like this, and they went to Ohio State to play in games like this as well.
When you play these types of games, the margin of error is even smaller.
Four-quarter wars of attrition. You just love what Ohio State and Penn State always bring.
When you're playing against your equal, it's who can find the little inch or find the yard that will make the difference in the game.
When you think about the tradition and the little rivalry we've built, this game means everything for both of our seasons.
This is one of the games you need to win.
The consequences are higher, the stakes are higher. That's the way you want it.
We now welcome in College GameDay's very own Jen Lada. Hello, looking lovely.
So happy to be back with you guys. You're some of my favorite people to see every single week. And there's an aroma in the air here in Columbus.
Yeah,
what is that?
there
It
is.
smells like, I guess, rivalry football,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Okay, I didn't know where we were going.
Yeah.
I smell something too.
I do too. I don't know if that's legal here.
It seems like people are having a lot of fun this morning
Yeah,
here
they
in
are.
Columbus. I'm doing a piece this week on Drew Allar. He is the young quarterback of Penn State. He's 19 years old, guys. Try to think for a moment about what y'all were doing at 19 years old. It was not leading a big-time,
Don't take me back, please, Jen.
Big Ten program into a hostile environment. And yet when I talked to Coach Franklin this week, guys, he talked about this young man's poise, how he's in control, how nothing seems too big for him. I'll tell you what, that's going to be tested today in this amazing arena behind us, Ohio Stadium, with these Buckeye fans who are going to try to rattle him very early.
Yeah, we'll see if they're able to do that. You mentioned that you were with Drew Allar. Obviously, you were on campus at Penn State. What was the vibe like on their campus as they get ready to play Ohio State?
Yeah, they want to turn the tide, right? This has been a lopsided rivalry to the point where Coach Franklin was like, I'm not even sure we can call it a rivalry. I don't know that we've earned that in the last few years because Ohio State has had their number so frequently. But he did remind us of this. 4 of those games over the last 8 years or so have been one-score games. So they've been in it. The goal, of course, this week is to get over the hump and figure out a way to walk out of there victorious. And obviously, a lot will be what Drew Allar does if he's able to continue that streak, guys, of not turning the football over.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you have the ability to make a lot of people cry. Including myself,
Dare
Jana.
you.
And your co-hosts on radio, they have come up with some nicknames for you. Do you mind sharing that with the people?
So, I guess it depends on where you guys stand. You guys got to tell me which one you prefer. Do you like the Grim Griefer?
That's my favorite.
The Grim Griefer?
Yeah.
So the Grim Griefer was one.
The Grim Griefer.
Crying Queen, much like ABBA's Dancing Queen, they're calling me the Crying Queen.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh my gosh.
But it occurred to one of our loyal listeners that maybe the most obvious nickname for me, who apparently has this ability to make people cry regularly, is just Jen Sada. Not Jen Lada, but Jen Sada. How do we feel about that one?
That's efficient.
Okay, this is the one thing
like
that
the
I do want to say. I do want to say Jen is not a sad person. She's a very happy person.
Very
She's just a
happy.
very good storyteller.
Yes.
And that is why she's able to make you guys cry.
Well, and Drew Allar, we did not expect. We thought we would talk about how he's going back to Ohio and how obviously there's a lot of emotion that goes along just with that scenario itself. But then he did reveal to us that going home reminds him of a loved one who died 10 years ago. And so we will tell that story this morning on College GameDay.
Watch it.
Weren't even expecting that. Weren't even expecting that, but she's just able to bring it out of them. That's what it is. You're so good at your job.
Oh, that's so nice. And you guys are as well, and that's why I love hanging out with Countdown to Game Day as we get ready for such a big day on College GameDay.
Yes, we've missed you so much, so thanks for joining us.
Thanks, love.
We've seen a lot of really good signs out there in the crowd today, so let's take a look at some of them really fast. I feel like they're not as creative as we've seen at other campuses. I'm not going to lie, because we've seen some pretty good ones.
Yeah, we have.
Michigan, those two, okay, the Michigan shade, which we're going to talk about very shortly. The only thing scarier than, Taylor Swift, I don't want to talk about Taylor Swift at all. I'm over him. Her. Oops, I called her a him.
Well,
anyways, speaking of a him, we got our own Pistol Pete Thamel.
Hey, man, look at that tie. That's crisp.
Yes.
My boy.
You look good. You look warm, too.
We're trying. Hey,
prepared.
We'll be out here for a minute.
Very much prepared. How was the atmosphere out here? I mean, I feel like the first time I ever did a show with Pistol Pete, it was out here in Columbus, Ohio.
I was nervous.
You were so nervous, but we had a great old time. So how is it being back in Columbus?
It feels good. It feels good. It's weird. That yellow orb is up in the sky emanating warmth, and that's not usual for Columbus in October.
Yeah,
I like that we can see our breath.
Exactly.
Football weather.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about this matchup. Obviously, Ohio Ohio State had some key injuries last week. What more can you tell us about what they're doing as they go into this week?
So as they go into this week, I feel like the running back room is going to be replenished a little bit. Ryan Day had indicated going into last week's game at Purdue that star tailback Trayvon Henderson would have been able to play, and it felt like they're holding him for this game. So I really feel like today's game, Christine, is going to be one in the trenches. Ohio State's offensive line has been one of the weaker units. When scouts look at them, they really, that is the one place they pinpoint and say they need to block Penn State's defensive front. Penn State has 2 star defensive ends who are going to be top NFL prospects. The lovely name Chop Robinson. If I was a defensive edge rusher, I'd want my name to be Chop. Other than Sack, I don't think there's a better name for a defensive end. And then Adisa Isaac on the other edge. Can they affect Kyle McCord? We have 2 young quarterbacks. Jen was just talking about Drew Allar, 19 years old. And it feels like you can manage the game best and limit mistakes. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game out there. It's going to be a little Big Ten slobber knocker.
Hey, it should be a fun one. Speaking of Big Ten, this team's biggest rival, Michigan, is one of the biggest stories in college football right now. Could you give us the latest on that and what you know?
I can give you the latest on that, Harry. The sign-stealing scandal up at the University of Michigan. The investigation is ongoing. The latest news on that is the low-level analyst Connor Stallions, who we reported going into Friday was the centerpiece of the NCAA's investigation, has been suspended with pay by Michigan. And look, the allegations are beyond the normal sign stealing. Obviously, Harry, you played a lot of football, and I'm sure a lot of coaches spend a lot of time looking at the other sidelines. This has transcended that, guys, because they sent people allegedly to other stadiums. So it's more of an operation, and it's illegal in college football to send people to other stadiums. Now, people have different opinions on whether that should be legal or not. But the point is this just transcends your regular run-of-the-mill, hey, let's look across, they tap their head, they're going to blitz type stuff. So it is very interesting right now. Look, Michigan has a national championship caliber team. You talk to scouts, they think they may have the most talented roster in college football. Will this affect that? Will be very interesting to see. They play at Michigan State today.
Yeah, it's very shocking because I did not know until this week when the rule came out, well, not when it came out, but when people brought it to the light, that you could not do that in college football. But Pete, any indication on how the Big Ten and the NCAA learned about this?
So that's the million-dollar question, Aaron. I don't have the answer to that, but I think if you look at the empirical evidence that we do know, the Big Ten released a statement, the NCAA is investigating. This is more than just general coaches carping. You know what I mean? It's like we all hear coaches complain, right? That's what they do. This appears to be enough evidence that they had an investigation, that the Big Ten came out with a statement. The Big Ten's warned future opponents. That to me transcends just the normal, like, hey, rumor, I heard this. So there is some meat there. Nobody knows where it came from.
Okay, let's talk about, we've been talking about Michigan from the very beginning of this season, right? Because they still have that unresolved cheeseburger situation. How does that impact this case?
It's a great question, Christine. I think it significantly impacts this case for the future of Jim Harbaugh. He obviously took a self-imposed by Michigan 3-game suspension to start the year. That does not end the NCAA case. They still don't have a notice of allegations in that case. So if you want to go really like NCAA inside baseball, head coach responsibility is something that's going to loom now that these cases we assume are going to merge in some way. You are responsible for members of your staff. Jim Harbaugh obviously had a forceful denial of any knowledge of any illegal sign-stealing activity. But NCAA rules explicitly say you are responsible for the actions of your staff members. So he was already on the hook from the recruiting allegations for potentially having a longer suspension. Remember, they put forth a 4-game suspension for a negotiated resolution, and that was rejected by the NCAA. So we have to assume, if as NCAA process goes through, there's exposure of additional suspension from that case, and potentially, as this case moves through, assuming there's some evidence there could be a longer suspension for Jim Harbaugh.
Well, there's one thing for sure. These fans out here are very happy that Harbaugh and Michigan have a lot of issues coming out of that program. Pete, always great to see you. Always great having you on our set.
Harry, appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Pete. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about this matchup with Penn State and Ohio State. HD, you previewed this game a little bit earlier, but these teams, very similar starts. Obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, a lot at stake in this matchup. What matchups are you specifically looking forward to?
For me, being a former wide receiver, I'm going to Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Kalen King. Both of these guys are going to be first-round draft picks next year when the draft comes around. Last year, Marvin Harrison Jr., he caught a few balls on Kalen King, so I want to see how he's going to be able to respond. And Kalen King is playing phenomenal football. Marvin Harrison Jr., they're playing phenomenal football. Also, I would say when you look at this matchup, these running backs for both teams, they have to be a major factor in today's ball game. So the offensive line of Penn State, the offensive line of Ohio State, you have to win in the trenches. They have a magnitude of running backs on both sides, so those guys are going to have to be able to win up front offensively too.
Yep.
All right, let's talk a little Penn State because they have scored 30 points or more in 13 straight games, which is the third longest streak in Big Ten history. However, they are almost dead last in explosive plays in FBS. How do they beat Ohio State out at home without explosive plays, Lyles?
Well, so here's the thing about that is that Ohio State does not give them up anyway. So it's not like it was something that you were going to need to try. Like, this is a case where if you are Penn State, you can confidently try to play your game. Stay within what Drew Allar knows, which is, hey, just don't turn the ball over, make the plays that you need to, and play really, really, excuse me, good defense. So, HD, don't do that to me now. So, but look, so here's my favorite stat for this particular game. On passes 20 yards down the field or longer, teams have tried that in Ohio State 22 times this year. They've only completed 2 of those. So if you're Penn State, that's not your bag anyways. Like, if you were going to try it, you weren't going to get that done. So play within themselves, don't turn the ball over, play good defense, and you're going to be in this football game. And this Penn State defense is better than the Notre Dame one that we saw a few weeks ago that gave Ohio State so much trouble. So as long as they play good, solid, foundational football, they've got a shot.
And I think for Drew Allar, I think the most important thing that you said is taking care of the football. When you're a young quarterback coming into this environment, a game of this magnitude, top 10 matchup, you have to make sure you don't give them momentum any kind of way. Take care of the football. He's done a great job of that so far this season.
Okay, so Lyles has talked about how good this defense is. What does Ohio State need to do to get the ball to their playmakers?
Get it to them. Number one, protect up front. I think that offensive line, when you look at the defensive line of Penn State, they're one of the better sacking teams in college football. If you can't protect Kyle McCord, then it can get ugly for you today if you're Ohio State. Also, the health of some of their guys, you know, Maya Williams, Travion Henderson, also Emeka Ibuka, those guys got to be out there today and make a difference so Kyle McCord doesn't have to do too much.
All right, let's get some game picks in for this one, Lyles. You start us off. Who do you have? Ohio State,
Oh, my
Penn State?
goodness gracious. I've been telling myself all week I was going to pick Penn State, and I am not. I'm going to be a coward until they show me otherwise, because this has been one game that they have not been able to get over the hump since 2016. I'm going with Ohio State.
Wow. We were supposed to pick Penn State together, but I'm right with you. I'm going Ohio State. I'm going with consistency and what I know. I'm going Ohio State in this match.
Okay, so the fans have 62% choose Ohio State, and we're going to give them bulletin board material. Honestly, this is so embarrassing because I chose Ohio State too. If anybody is screenshotting this, have you guys ever been in one of those videos where they take a screenshot and then somebody's talking about how they're gonna lose?
No, I'm not.
I've been in one of those videos.
I'm not popping like that.
Anyways, here you are, bulletin board material for Penn State. Prove us wrong. We would love to see it. Thank you guys for watching Countdown to College Game Day presented by Dr. Pepper. We'll be right here, not in Columbus, but where you're watching next week. Not sure where we'll be, but have a great college football Saturday, and we'll see you next Saturday.
Boing.